CM Punk does not finish the story, but Cody is on his way to doing so, throwing the debut of Jade Cargill and an epic face-off of her versus Bianca Belair, plus Bayley adding to her decorated career by winning the Royal Rumble. One can only wonder, was this one of the greatest Royal Rumble events of all time, or did it severely underwhelm? Hey everybody, your host SonGoshuaku here. So first off, that Hulk Hogan introduction definitely worked for me, brother. And on top of that, having Pat McAfee on commentary is always a plus. Thus, we begin with the very first match, the Women's Royal Rumble. Alright, so I gotta be honest, this match kinda for the first 2/3 underwhelmed for me. However, that doesn't mean it didn't have its highlights. So here's what we got. The return of Naomi. So that was awesome to see. She's been doing incredible work as Trinity, her real name, in TNA Wrestling, so it's great to see her back. Awesome to know that Triple H has worked his magic and been able to bring back Naomi to the WWE. We also got her taking on Natalya in the first match. Those two were a couple of my favorites back in the day of the last of the Divas era and everything, so it's always great to see them going back to SummerSlam 2017. We also got Jordynne Grace coming out from TNA Wrestling as the TNA Knockouts champion, so I did not expect this. It was so surreal to see her and Naomi squaring up in WWE when they had just squared up against each other not too long ago, a few weeks ago, in fact, at TNA and TNA Wrestling. So that was awesome to see. That was a great surprise. Chelsea Green also, to me, was much better utilized in this match than last year when they had her coming in 5 seconds. She did a lot of great things. It was entertaining, kept being the unfortunate victim of constantly accidentally getting hit by her partner Piper Niven, so she was incredibly entertaining. Bianca Belair definitely was a big highlight coming out in the match, but unfortunately, like I mentioned, for the first 2/3 of this match, it sounded like a lot of the audience was just really quiet, and Bianca, there was even some things in this Royal Rumble, in fact, like Bianca Belair needed help of several other women trying to pick up Piper Niven over the top rope, and I don't know if you guys remember, but I'm pretty sure Bianca Belair has hit the KOD on Piper Niven several times. We've seen this on WWE programs, so there would be little things like that I didn't understand. We had Maxine Dupree. She came in and did some spots that unfortunately looked like it just wasn't really coordinated well. I saw Bayley was trying, and it looked like it just really wasn't working out for Maxine for some of the spots that she was doing. So hopefully she's able to improve and basically execute these moves a lot better and everything like that. And going some of the other things, we had Nia Jax in this Royal Rumble, and she kind of changed the whole trajectory of this entire Rumble, dominating everyone. And I just wish they would have made a bigger deal when her and Piper Niven came face to face, because one of the things that I'm not a big fan of when you see in these Royal Rumble matches is when you have two powerhouses and they just kind of start fighting out of nowhere. You know, where's that big epic stare down of when they come face to face, you know, the irremovable object, meaning the irresistible force, or however, if I said it wrong or not, I don't know, but you all know what I'm talking about for long-term old school wrestling fans. So that was something that I wish would have been better. But yeah, Nia Jax was dominating the whole field at this point, and you knew they were just setting up for something that was going to be much bigger as we went along here. But that's the problem, though. Before we got to this Rumble match was just lacking what I felt was a lot of different story to it. For example, the Kabuki Warriors, when Asuka and Kairi came out, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be the big story in the whole match. Can Bayley trust them? Are they going to work together as a cohesive unit? But then at the end, boom, they turn on her first or something like that before they try to go at it at the end. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a good dynamic to watch, but no, they're just thrown right out there. I'm surprised. I thought Asuka would have lasted longer, given that she won the inaugural Women's Royal Rumble, and given that at the last year's Royal Rumble, which was her second match competing in, she made it all the way to the final three. There was also a part where it looked like Kairi Sane was just holding on for dear life, holding on to like the ring apron while her feet were just barely above the ground, and then she ended up falling. So I don't know if that was planned there or they just had it go there for her like holding on, and yeah, it ended there. So that kind of took a lot of the drama away from me from the match, because now Bayley's on her own, and I'm I'm like, oh, I thought they were going to be teasing some dissension between Damage Control throughout the match. So we didn't get that. There was a funny part with R-Truth coming out in the Women's Royal Rumble, mistakenly thinking he's supposed to be in it, or that this was the Men's Royal Rumble, and he gets tossed out by, ironically, the person that took him out of the Men's Rumble when she entered, and that was Nia Jax. So it was a nice little callback there that I thought I had enjoyed for this match. We did get some NXT stars like Tiffany Stratton and Roxanne Perez, so it was cool to see them and get some good shine in there. But like I mentioned, just while these were some nice highlighted moments, such as Jordynne Grace and Bianca Belair having a really cool face-off, and they get to outside the ring, and Jordynne Grace gets eliminated, and she had a good showing. She gets eliminated by Bianca Belair onto the ring apron, and Bianca goes back in the ring. There just really wasn't a lot of heat to this match to kind of connect the in-betweens, you know? Like, one of the big stories in last year's Royal Rumble that I enjoyed was Rhea Ripley, who was just being this dominating beast. And then you had the Damage Control and the Becky storyline. You had Liv Morgan staying in there. So there's a lot of different stories, and I just didn't feel that in this Royal Rumble, and I think that really hurt the match. But like I said, when we get to the last third of the match, whoa, the last third part of this match really is where you get the old Jim Ross's line, business has picked up, because at number 28, we get Jade Cargill, and the whole audience went a huge pop for her, because you heard the storm is coming, and they had a theme song that sounded very similar to her AEW theme, so it's really cool to see that Triple H is keeping the presentation that AEW had started with Jade Cargill. So Jade Cargill comes walking down to the ring looking like a star, just oozing charisma, and she gets into the ring with Nia Jax, and when they have their face off, the crowd is going crazy. And what's really impressive is that Nia Jax is picked up by Jade Cargill with ease, not the struggle, like, no, she just like yoink, yoink, or whatever you want to say. Oh, it was like, wow, impressive. And then when she's got Nia Jax on her shoulders, she does a flex like, wow. She is holding up Nia Jax with one arm. I knew the woman was strong, but I did not know she was that strong. And she ends up going ahead and picking up Nia Jax again after tossing her down. But the second time she picks her up, she basically goes towards the ropes. And fair play to Nia Jax here. A lot of people give her a lot of flack, but I think Nia Jax has shown that she has come in terms of improving from her first run in WWE to where she is now. It was really cool. She grabbed the ropes to make sure that she was staying steady, because Jade Cargill almost had dropped her before she could get her to the over the ropes. So after that part, when Nia Jax gets thrown over the ropes right to her feet, it looked spectacular. The audience went crazy. So that was really awesome to see in terms of how they handled Jade Cargill. And now this one right here legitimately got me to boo. So there's a part where Jade and Bianca, I forget which women it was, but they both were doing the Gorilla Press Slam, and this is how they first meet, and the fans were going crazy. So then they dropped their opponents, and then the camera work knew exactly what it was doing here, because you get Jade Cargill and you get Bianca Belair face to face with the WrestleMania 40 sign in the background, possibly teasing where we're going to be going for Bianca Belair's next match at Mania. But man, the audience went unglued. This was the big match. Like, as much as you want to talk about Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair, as much as you want to talk about a Bayley possibly versus Io, this seemed like this is the big women's match that the fans were going truly crazy over. And before they could really go ahead and touch, both powerhouses are knocked down by, I believe it was Tiffany and Bayley. And man, that's the part of the moment where, as a fan, I should be like, smart move. You don't want these women to touch until you get to WrestleMania, because there's money all over this thing. But I couldn't help it. I got into it as a fan. I was like, boo! too, because I wanted to see that. It truly has been a dream match when you look at how Jade Cargill was built up in AEW and how around the same time Bianca Belair was being built up. So it's seeing these two powerhouse women who I believe both were discovered by the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. That's a dream match that we definitely are waiting to see, but this was played to perfection. And as we get to the closing moments, Jade Cargill, she eliminates Becky Lynch by countering Naomi, who is coming in for an attack, which she basically grabs Naomi and swings her around, causing Naomi's feet to hit Becky Lynch in the face. So she gets eliminated and then just throws Naomi right out with her. So between Becky, Nia, and Naomi, that's 3 big eliminations for Jade Cargill. So really good stuff in terms of introducing her to the WWE audience, and great performance by Naomi, because I believe Michael Cole mentioned 1 hour and 2 minutes, which was at that point the longest record in a women's Royal Rumble in terms of being in that ring, overcoming Rhea Ripley's record from the previous year. So like I said, yeah, really good showing for Jade Cargill. And so it comes down to the final 5: Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Bayley. From here, we end up with Liv Morgan hitting her finisher to Tiffany on the ring apron, because her and Bianca Belair are out there. So Liv Morgan, she gets back in the ring, and Tiffany, to prevent elimination, grabs onto Bianca Belair's ponytail, and Bayley ends up kicking Bianca Belair in the ribs, causing both Bianca and Tiffany to get eliminated. So as much as Bianca Belair can use that ponytail of her as a dangerous weapon, doing the whip with it, it can also prove very detrimental, because in this point, if her hair wasn't so long, or she didn't have the ponytail at least just hanging out there like that, Tiffany would have had nothing to grab on from a kayfabe standpoint. So they got eliminated. So at this point, we get Bayley, Liv Morgan, and Jade Cargill, which is really cool, because now it means we are guaranteed brand new Royal Rumble winners. No repeats. In fact, both potential repeats have been eliminated, or make that 3 from if you count Asuka from earlier. And so in the ending sequence here, I thought it was very clever for Bayley's character. So Liv Morgan and Bayley both try to eliminate Jade Cargill, but she's too strong for both of them and basically ends up throwing them both over the ropes, but they're still hanging on to the apron. So from here, both women end up pulling Jade Cargill over the ropes. Now all 3 of them are on the apron, though Jade Cargill, she's still holding on to that top rope while her legs are just dwindling at the bottom there, and she manages to kick both of them away. And it's very impressive, because she uses her core strength to nearly basically just power herself back up over the top of the rope, but Liv Morgan and Bayley are like, nah, we getting you out. So they pull her back before she could get in the ring, and they just continue assaulting her. And then from there, they continue that assault while she's hanging on. Eventually, Jade Cargill kicks both Bayley and Liv Morgan away. And it's from here that Liv, she comes right back with a kick to Jade Cargill's midsection, and then another kick to Jade's face. Now, this causes Bayley to go back into the corner, and Jade Cargill, she right now is completely out of it, and she goes right back in front of Bayley. So I think the moment here is, this is the moment where Liv Morgan sees, like, okay, I can go ahead and eliminate both. So she runs up to both of them, and she hits the Oblivion on Jade Cargill. Here's the really clever part when it comes to Bayley. While this is happening, Bayley goes through the bottom rope back into the ring, and the Oblivion causes Jade Cargill to go flying off the apron onto the floor. And just as Liv Morgan is turning around, trying to get back into the ring, you have right from behind, Bayley at the bottom goes ahead and kicks Liv Morgan both feet right off, right to her back, and sends Liv Morgan out. And thus Bayley has won the 2024 Women's Royal Rumble. Man, the audience went crazy, and I really love too how as the celebration is going on, they've got Tiffany, Jade, Becky, Bianca, and Liv all at ringside looking disappointed that all of them could not win this Rumble. So it really shows you just how fast these eliminations were occurring. There were also some other nice production stuff where they would have timers at the top, at least to show you how all 3 who were the 3 longest competitors in the Royal Rumble. So that's a nice another production thing that I've noticed they've changed since Kevin Dunn has left. And in top of that, they showed the reactions of Rhea and Io, both looking at their monitors. And by monitors, I mean they both were actually looking at a monitor in front of them, not the TV monitor is on the side, and we're gonna stand with our body towards the camera with our neck here, which is gonna probably cause a big neck ache. I'm glad they got rid of that. It just makes no sense. So yeah, just do a double feature. We know what they're looking at as the audience. And what was very telling, based on the story that you know they want to tell, was Io looked very concerned. Rhea, she looked confident, but Io, she started looking really concerned here, as she should be, as I figured Io versus Bayley is the direction they were going to go for WrestleMania, and Bayley winning was definitely my number one pick. And I need to say this, Bayley, to me, truly earned this huge, great moment for her character and just for her career in general, because like many of you, I have followed Bayley going back to her early years in NXT. In fact, for some of you, you may have followed her on the independent scene where she was playing a heel. And shoot, if you're a younger person watching this review in your 20s or teens, then you probably grew up as a kid watching Bayley right now. So that tells you how long Bayley has been around. And yeah, we've seen a lot of ups and downs with her, but she's truly become one of the most decorated women in WWE history in terms of her accomplishments. So it's good to see her get this win at the Royal Rumble, especially when you consider the last couple of years after her injury. I mean, even before that, Bayley, along with Sasha Banks, really was carrying, I think, the SmackDown brand when it came to the women's division, along with Asuka. And then, she got injured before the audience came back. And when she did come back, she basically dedicated herself to helping further establish Bianca Belair as one of the top stars in the female division for WWE. And she basically helped take on Io and Dakota as the damage control leader. And even then, when it came to getting that world title, look who got it, Io Sky. So I think just like Triple H said in the press conference after the show, Bayley is truly one of the talents who has given a lot of herself to this company. In fact, I don't think she's ever had a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. I think she even went a couple of years without a WrestleMania match for a while. So when you consider all this, it's great to see Bayley get her flowers and win this Women's Royal Rumble match. Now we just got to get Sasha Banks to win, and all 4 horsewomen can say that they've won a Royal Rumble. And hopefully Bayley, I doubt it's going to be this year, but hopefully one of these days Bayley gets a WrestleMania main event to join her fellow 3 horsewomen there. But yeah, overall, like I said, I felt this Royal Rumble kind of missed the mark for me. The first 2/3 of this, you had some highlights, but the way you connected about that from start to finish, I just don't think this was one of the greatest Royal Rumble matches ever for the women, but it had enough highlights in between those parts, and especially the last half of this Rumble match, to definitely make it not the worst. So overall, I would say some of the highlights, and especially everything from Jade Cargill's appearance from there out, and you've got a really great part of the Royal Rumble in terms of the women here. Also, I want to say that I think a big reason as to why this Royal Rumble match for the women lacks so much heat is because, as much as I love Triple H's booking, I do feel that one of the weaker points has been how he's booked the women, particularly in 2023. If you really look at it, if you go to November 2023, as late as that, that's when a lot of the women start getting more pushes, particularly the tag team women's division and other women on the roster. So it just seems like maybe there just wasn't enough time yet that has been put in to establish a lot of these female superstars to the point to where when the Royal Rumble comes around, hey, you've got more people in this match getting more bigger pops than just the top female stars like Becky, Bianca, Jade Cargill, stuff like that. And hopefully through 2024, I like to see Triple H build up these women a lot more, which I do like that he's doing, but hopefully with better storylines when we get to the Royal Rumble in 2025, a lot of these women will be a lot more over, just as we saw in the men's Royal Rumble. Next up was the Fatal 4-Way Undisputed WWE Championship match. Roman Reigns versus LA Knight versus Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. Now, I was shocked in terms of match placement for this one. Yeah, this was second match of the night. I thought they were going to hold this either as the main event or before the Men's Royal Rumble. So I was very surprised to see this. And over here, Central Time, it was 8:30 p.m. And I'm thinking, oh man, maybe the U.S. title match got cut because they didn't even show the video packages for this match. So I'm thinking, okay, that U.S. title match is going to get cut. But nonetheless, yeah, you get all four guys coming out here. And it was a solid match. That's what I'll say. Everybody looked good. You got to see AJ Styles do his things. Randy Orton did his vintage moves. You had LA Knight, who I thought, once again, the audience was still very much behind. And Roman Reigns is always a great beast in terms of his storytelling and trash talking. So overall, it was a solid Fatal 4-Way match. But of course, you get the Solo Sikoa interference because it wouldn't be a Roman Reigns match at this point if we don't get some Bloodline interference. Though no Jimmy Uso, like he was getting ready for that Royal Rumble match. There was even a part where they were trying to do the stack 'em pin from WrestleMania 37 with Roman Reigns, because I wouldn't have minded if he stacked all three of them and pinned them. Like, that would have been a good way to make Roman Reigns look dominant. But AJ Styles is the one that almost gets the stacked pin, and I think it was Randy Orton underneath that kicked out of all of them. So I thought that was a really cool spot. But in the end, Roman Reigns hits the spear on AJ Styles. 1, 2, 3, Roman Reigns. And honestly, if anyone went into this match thinking that the outcome would be anything different, I mean, this year, so close to WrestleMania, only 2 months, a milestone WrestleMania as well. Roman Reigns ain't losing that championship, so the Tribal Chief still reigns in what might be very well his final undisputed WWE Championship title defense until WrestleMania. So Roman walks away, and pretty much what we expected. But yeah, the good thing here, Randy Orton was protected since he just got back. LA Knight was protected, and then of course AJ Styles does take the fall, but AJ has really established himself as a legend, and it's not going to hurt him. So overall, that's what we got there. So overall, that's fine. Roman Reigns should not be losing the championship this close to WrestleMania. One thing too that I want to say before I move on is the Bloodline storyline. Man, you look at where that story was from SummerSlam 2002 to the Royal Rumble 2023. That was phenomenal. Even when Roman Reigns was not around, they knew how to keep the dynamic strong with Sami Zayn and Jay and Jimmy Uso. But then when we get here from SummerSlam 2023 to Royal Rumble 2024, man, it does not feel like the same amount of effort has been put in there. No effort to add new members, no effort to add a female representative, even when Roman Reigns is not around. Just adding some sort of new character to build around with Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa, and nothing. It just feels like it's kind of just been dragging its feet until we get to WrestleMania. So yeah, the Bloodline storyline, if they're not going to be putting more effort than what they have done, I definitely do think it's time. This story has run its course. And hey, this comes from somebody who, if you've watched my content over the last 4 years, I have loved the Bloodline storyline, and I have loved this reign of Roman Reigns. But man, when you just can't keep it finding new ways to keep it going strong, then at that point, I think, like, yeah, it's just lost its excitement. Next up was the WWE United States Championship match. Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens. All right, solid match here. Kevin Owens has always been great. And Logan Paul, once again, despite having only maybe half a dozen matches or so under his belt, tremendously shows why he is so good in the ring despite his experience. Because he gets in there and is doing some nice, clean transitions. He's always got the showmanship down. So truly, Logan Paul never disappoints in his matches, and Kevin Owens right there in the ring, you know, it's just a match made to be something enjoyable. And personally, I actually thought in terms of pure in-ring action, this was definitely the best of the two non-Royal Rumble matches. And at this point, I thought this was the match of the night, beating both the world title match and the women's Royal Rumble match. But yeah, there was even a great funny part where Logan Paul yells to Corey Corey Graves. Then he says that you said no man can suplex Kevin Owens, in which Kevin Owens responds by doing that reverse suplex off the top rope. And Corey Graves has said, goes ahead and says, that's why I said it. That was good. But as we get to the closing parts of the match, so this is very interesting. So Logan Paul's friend comes out with the brass knucks and goes ahead and tries to give it over to Logan Paul, and the referee catches him and calls security. And security honestly does a poor job of escorting him out, because if you're telling the person to leave and they just keep arguing with him, that's where you need to escort them out, right? So I don't know what they were doing with there. And then eventually you end up having Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. They end up coming out, and while all this commotion's going on, when the referee and security's not looking, Austin Theory, he pulls out another pair of brass knucks and goes ahead and gives it to Logan Paul. And from here, a struggle ensues between Kevin Owens and Logan Paul, and Kevin manages to grab the new brass knucks and he knocks out Logan Paul, and they got me. I thought this was the finish, and I'm like, oh, okay, what a fantastic finish, because I didn't know, like, were we going to get the same finish here that we always get, just like Roman has the same type of, screw job finish. It's going to be another screw job finish from Logan Paul and his friends. And so Kevin Owens goes for the pinfall, and the referee gets in position, start doing the count. 1, 2, and you think it's going to be 3. He stops, because he sees the brass knucks wrapped around Kevin Owens' knuckles, and the referee's like, nah, calls for the bell, disqualification. And I thought this was hilarious, because I'm like, well, basically, you use the old line, Logan Paul did not screw Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens screwed Kevin Owens. And I was cracking up, and I think it kind of makes sense as a heel when you think of Kevin Owens. Even in his time as heel, Kevin Owens really hasn't cheated in his matches, so he's always pretty much won most of his matches fair and square for the most part, whether being heel or babyface. So he's not done this. But I also thought, I guess this ending kind of made him look a little foolish, because everyone probably should know, if you're gonna cheat like that one-on-one, pull it back in the tighter, discard the evidence by throwing it away. And also, it once again is just hilarious, because isn't it funny how when the heels cheat, the referees, they seem to not be that observative. They just go ahead and count the pinfall. But when the babyface cheats, all of a sudden, now they're being much more observative. And it's like, where was this when all the times he cheated? Like, come on. Yeah, I'm just saying. But overall, the match was cool. I enjoyed it. And like I said, up to our next match, the best match of the night. And it certainly did what it needed to do. It protected Kevin Owens from getting a pinfall, as he should, because like I said, he went toe-to-toe with Stone Cold Steve Austin in WrestleMania 32. And I'm glad to see that Kevin Owens has been protected ever since then. In addition to that, it also kept the U.S. title on Logan Paul, because I feel that they're not going to take that title off to Logan Paul until WrestleMania for L.A. night. Yeah. And now the main event, the men's Royal Rumble match. So we get Jey Uso, who you knew when he come out there doing the whole dance, he was definitely going to get the crowd alive. And the audience through this entire match was definitely much more alive than I had heard of all night. And honestly, even for me, I would say, because Naomi got a big pop, obviously, when she came out, and they were always up for the 10 counts. But even for myself, man, I was on the edge of my seat in this Rumble match. So it was great. So we get Jey and Jimmy Uso starting out. And going back to what I was saying towards the end of that last match in the Fatal 4-Way, it's just crazy to think that Jimmy and Jey, this whole feud started right after SummerSlam, or yeah, it's SummerSlam 2023. And aside from that time that Jimmy Uso cost Jey the tag titles, him and Cody, this is our first interaction. So there hasn't been really much dynamics built up over the last several months with Jimmy and Jey. This is our first test, but we got to see him go ahead and give us a preview of what I believe will be their WrestleMania match. But some of the other noteworthy highlights in the men's Royal Rumble match, we got Andrade returning from AEW. So one of the first people to leave WWE, go to AEW, then come back to WWE. So that was an interesting dynamic. And we got some cool spots even with Santos Escobar, which is really awesome, because I'm hoping that Andrade will join the LWO and be reunited with Zelina Vega, because Zelina Vega as his valet worked amazing, tremendous. That's what I think put Andrade on the map in terms of the WWE audience. It's unfortunate that Tony Khan and Vince McMahon were not able to book this guy to his full potential. So I'm very much interested to see where he goes on the main roster now under the booking guidance of Triple H. And he also got a good showing, like 40 plus minutes. So that was really cool to see. And then one of the things that also worked more about this men's Royal Rumble is that there were a lot more stories being told. When a big star came out and they would start laying out everyone or even dominating by throwing people out left and right, that was missing, I felt, in a lot of the women's Royal Rumble. Like when you would have Becky or Bianca, all these big time stars coming out in terms of the women's division, they really didn't do much. They knocked down a few people, but they kind of were more so just fighting a lot in the corner and not doing much eliminations. And so you didn't have that issue a lot. This men's Royal Rumble was pretty much like TNA, total nonstop action from beginning to end. I will say this in terms of Kofi Kingston, we did not get a Kofi Kingston spot, like a Houdini, huge escape spot from elimination. Literally, he just got kicked out and that was it. And I'm very curious. I wonder what's going on behind the scenes with that one. Was this a case of Kofi Kingston feeling like, because of the last 2 to 3 years, he botched his big comeback spot and got eliminated? And so maybe he doesn't want to risk it anymore because he's getting older? Or was this a case of Triple H saying, listen, you botched those last few ones. We're not going to have you do it this year. So, I mean, like, wow, Kofi, has never won a Royal Rumble, but you always expect him to leave some sort of memorable moment. And we didn't get that. So I thought that was crazy. And I'm sorry. This was a waste. Pat McAfee. All right, listen, I love Pat McAfee and it was great to have him on commentary. But to me, and when his music hit, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We're going to get Pat McAfee. And I was concerned. I'm like, man, he's been sitting there for almost 3 hours. Did he get a good stretch in and stuff? So he gets in because they got Omos out here. And when they bring out Omos, that means there's a big giant powerhouse star that's probably going to end up eliminating him. But he gets in there and he's scared of Omos and he keeps coming back in and out of the ring and then eventually decides to go ahead and eliminate himself. I'm like, yeah, that was a waste of a spot, honestly. Like, if you're going to put Pat McAfee in the Royal Rumble, then let him do some moves. We've seen Pat McAfee. We know he can go. He's gone with Austin Theory, Baron Corbin. He can hold his own with some of WWE's best athletic and toughest superstars in terms of the way the story has been presented. So I'm like, why are we getting him in the ring and he's not even going to throw one punch? So I thought that was a waste. At least have somebody get in there and do something. Like, man, like that was a complete waste. Like, I mean, even last year, it was 5 seconds, but at least you had Chelsea Green run in there and attempt to do something, got thrown out. Here, he just eliminated himself. Didn't even interact with anybody in terms of from a physicality standpoint. So, yeah, I thought that one was weird. But we got another noteworthy performance from the almighty Bobby Lashley. The audience was hot for him. He was laying out everybody. And this is one of my pet peeves about the Royal Rumble. So Bobby Lashley, he eliminates Cross. And I thought they were going to give Cross a lot more time because they're trying to establish him as the leader of the Final Testament. But he ends up getting eliminated by Cross after Bobby eliminated him. I don't understand. Does it make sense? And am I the only wrestling fan out there that thinks it does not make sense for a current star that's participating in the Rumble to be eliminated by someone that was already eliminated or someone who's not even a part of the match? That should be an illegal elimination. I feel like you should only be eliminated when it's from someone who is active in the Royal Rumble match. So I didn't understand that. Never will understand that. But something else, though, we did get the Final Testament and the Pride with the Street Profits obviously all fighting. So we got that outside at least. But of course, we did get some comedy with R-Truth, who I believe now became the first man to compete in the women and men's Royal Rumble matches. First person or first male to do that in WWE history. So I thought that was fun. We got some great comedy spots of R-Truth getting on the corner of the ring and grabbing the ring rope and asking for the hot tag. And we got a hot tag in the Royal Rumble match. So R-Truth always bringing up the great comedy. And Dominic Mysterio, he was just a heat magnet through the whole thing. And I knew they were going to save him in there for something big. And then, of course, when we get Damian Priest come out, he just comes out and boom, dicks R-Truth, knocks him out and throws him out of the ring. Oh, man, cue the famous Friday line. You got knocked the out. Oh my gosh, man. That was good stuff. Dominic Mysterio was he was still getting the heat, but Damian Priest, man, he came about the business, all about the business. So that was good. That was good to see. When Gunther came out, man, he was chopping everybody like boom, 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 just knocking out everyone. And I love that because you're keeping consistent with how big of a Royal Rumble competitor Gunther was last year. Because look at that. He came in dominating, and there should be no reason why he's not dominating this year. So that was great to see. Now, I pop for this one. Bron freaking Breakker. Bron Breakker making his long-awaited debut on the main roster, and the man came in explosive, just hitting everybody with clotheslines and spears, and there was even eventually, he tossed Omos out of the ring, which is why I knew they put Omos in this Rumble to set up for Bron Breakker. But then you look at him and Gunther went at it, and I'm like, oh boy, as a fan, I'm just getting into the moment going like, you ain't gonna be chopping Bron Breakker down. And he went for that big chop on Bron's chest, and Bron ate it like a champ, and eventually he lays Gunther out with a spear. So they made Bron Breakker look like the real freaking deal here. A tremendous way to introduce Bron to the mainstream WWE audience. So I thought that was absolutely fantastic in this Rumble match. And while Bron Breakker definitely had a great performance in this Rumble, he ended up getting eliminated by Dominic Mysterio. Oh, man, and that got a lot of heat from the crowd. But eventually, JD McDonough came out afterwards and got speared by Bron Breakker. So, like I said, it was a good showing. And, of course, you got the big moments when Cody Rhodes came out at number 15 and CM Punk came out at around 27, which I think had got one of the most wins in Royal Rumble history. No, I guess I got changed with the number 1 or number 30 spots now. But 27, has been very kind in history to the Royal Rumble winners of the past. So it was great to see that. Audience was really into Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. And one of the things that I did enjoy about this Royal Rumble is that, like I said, when the big stars came out, they cleaned house, wiping everybody from the mat, even throwing people out left and right. I felt that these were the moments that were truly missing in the Women's Royal Rumble match. We get to some more noteworthy returns as well, like Ricochet. Glad to see him back after I think he had a concussion scare. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, because I don't think I remember seeing him since like November. And then we got the return of Sami Zayn at number 30, and audience was really way into him singing his song even throughout the match. They changed the format to like the final 6. Usually they do the big standoff on the final 4, but here they did it with the final 6. So we got Cody Rhodes, Damian Priest, Sami Zayn, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Gunther all going at it. So from here, Sami Zayn, he eliminates Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre immediately eliminates Sami Zayn. It comes down to the final 4 from there: Gunther, Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, and CM Punk. And a fun fact here, all 4 of these men actually have had promo segments with Seth Rollins. So this was really good because it really puts you into the mindset, these are the 4 most likely candidates to win the Rumble match based on what we've been seeing in the storyline. So Drew McIntyre, he ends up getting the upper hand on everybody, and he just spends way too much time trash talking CM Punk, and before you can eliminate him, CM Punk turns around and eliminates Drew McIntyre, lands right on his feet, and then from there, Cody Rhodes, he eliminates Gunther again, just like last year. So Cody Rhodes has proven to be the one thorn in Gunther's side that he just seems to not be able to beat in these Royal Rumble matches. And we get to the final 2, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. And I definitely would say I thought this took some balls in terms of the booking here, because we've seen over the years in WWE or even the decades where if they've got 2 people that they don't want to clash, they'll eliminate somebody. Like think about when they eliminated Daniel Bryan Bryan early so that he never interacted with Roman Reigns because they don't want to ruin their narrative. I mean, we knew Lex Luger and Brett went at it, kind of see who was the most popular two. So props to Triple H not being afraid. And we got putting these two together. We got a mixed response. Half the crowd for CM Punk, half the crowd for Cody Rhodes. So these were the two most likely winners of the Royal Rumble that it came down to. And it was great to seeing both of them just go back and forth. And, it's just surreal as a fan of both AEW and WWE. I almost wonder, how did we get here? Just a little over a couple of years ago, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes were two of the biggest stars in AEW. And here we are. Now they're in WWE in one of the most important main events of the year, competing to see who goes to the main event of WWE's most important shows and a big milestone show at that one. So it's crazy how much the world of professional wrestling can change over a short period of time. And as we get to the closing moments here, CM Punk eventually is able to hit the pedigree to Cody Rhodes, and he even yells out to the commentators, "Can you believe I did that? Insert S-bomb there." And then he looks at the hard camera and says that he didn't wait 10 years to lose to Dusty's kid. From here, he picks up Cody Rhodes on his shoulders for another GTS, and then he looks up to the WrestleMania 40 sign. And this is where I'm like, I see where they're going with this. I start getting shades of WrestleMania 28 when The Rock was nearly defeated by John Cena and Cena started getting cocky and doing the whole people's elbow, only to end up getting himself caught into a rock bottom with The Rock picking up the win. And sure enough, CM Punk, when he goes for the GTS, Cody Rhodes lands on his feet, captures CM Punk's leg, and then grabs CM Punk by the neck and tosses CM Punk over the top rope, winning the Royal Rumble, winning his second Royal Rumble in a row, and becoming the first man in 26 years since Stone Cold Steve Austin to win back-to-back Royal Rumble matches. From there, CM Punk is outside the ring devastated. Cody Rhodes points towards the WrestleMania 40 sign, the pyro goes off, and something that I did like, once again, changing some of the production formats that they do for these. It was Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns who were both in their individual skyboxes looking down at the action. So it's good showing that the world champions are both looking to see who their potential WrestleMania opponent's gonna be. And Cody Rhodes, he finds the skybox that Roman Reigns is in, and he starts pointing to him and starts talking trash. And then you have Roman Reigns holds up the Universal WWE Championship and starts talking trash right back to him. And it's very clear here what they're making as the main event for WrestleMania 40. As I think a lot of us figured, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns 2 for WrestleMania 40. That's how the show ends. The Men's Royal Rumble match, I think, definitely was the best match of the night. Now, to be honest with you, while I definitely agree with the direction, I didn't think Cody Rhodes needed to win the Royal Rumble. To me, CM Punk, this could have been his moment to win his first ever Royal Rumble match. Cody Rhodes already won last year's Royal Rumble match, so he didn't need in order to win it when he's already got a Royal Rumble match under his belt, I know Hogan, Shawn Michaels, and Stone Cold, they all won multiple Royal Rumbles, and it definitely made sense for the time. Maybe the 97 one you can argue because they didn't even end up putting Stone Cold in that WrestleMania main event, but nonetheless, I just feel like nowadays, man, there's been no need to have these multiple Royal Rumble winners. You can always give it to somebody new. So yeah, I figured you could have had CM Punk win the Royal Rumble, get the closing shot of Cody Rhodes looking devastated, and then maybe you have 3 Raw guys and 3 SmackDown guys. They have a last chance Elimination Chamber match coming up, and you have Cody Rhodes win that, and now he gets to finish his story against Roman Reigns. So there was still one more way to get to that destination. However, remember, CM Punk's story is he wants to main event WrestleMania, and then in addition to that, look at Cody Rhodes. It shows that Triple H still has faith in Cody Rhodes. Even though it's been a year, they still had enough faith and that they weren't going to detour from their plans. And so Cody Rhodes gets his win 2 times in a row. So props to Cody Rhodes, and I like the build up and the stare down they were doing at the ending of the show. So I do believe CM Punk still will end up going against Seth Rollins in the main event of night 1. And as far as where I see things going for the future, Cody Rhodes Rhodes and Roman 2 is probably going to be very much the same match it was last year, which I enjoyed. Shoot, look at my ranking all the WrestleMania matches. But that being said, I think this time The Rock will come out when Solo Sikoa and maybe even Jimmy Uso and the Bloodline tries to interfere. The Rock's going to even the odds, and as long as he isn't the one that touched Roman Reigns and it's Cody doing the finishing blow to Roman's without anyone else, it makes sense for Roman Reigns' historic title reign to finally come to a finish there. And I know a lot of people are thinking, hey, what about Roman Reigns and The Rock? And you know, if you listen to The Rock, I've been taking good notes that he's been talking a lot about how he wants to build to this and make it bigger than it's ever could have imagined being. So I kind of figured that, yeah, Roman Reigns and The Rock is probably something that's going to happen a little further down the road. Hence the reason why I said that The Rock is probably going to cost Roman Reigns by defending Cody against the Bloodline attacks so that he can keep it one-on-one. Thus, that creates a big reason for why Roman Reigns wants The Rock, because The Rock, he took out the Bloodline, the one thing that Roman has been able to rely on in recent times to successfully defend his Universal WWE Championship. So that makes perfect sense for being the beginning of building to a much bigger match between The Rock and Roman, because at the end of the day, let's face it, Rock and Roman don't really need the championship. It writes itself, the head of the table for their family lineage. I'm looking forward to seeing where this ends up going. So overall, not one of the worst Royal Rumbles ever, but not one of the greatest overall ones ever. Just a solid, okay Royal Rumble show. And I will be back for a WrestleMania 40 review. So in the meantime, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and follow by hitting the notification bell so that you are notified when my content is released. Thanks for watching.